I was waiting for the cue. Welcome, everybody, to Broadcast Team Alpha, where we bring you cutting edge conversations while exploring the quantum possibilities. And we're going to do it again tonight. We have a fascinating guest that Augie's going to tell us about. I'm Nori Love. My co-host is Augie Nost. Hey, Augie, how you doing?
Hello, hello. Live long and prosper.
People are in the chat room already, and I'm so grateful for you guys to show up here every week and to join us and to have the lively chat that you do. And we're always so grateful for the super chats. It's such a gift of love, and it helps us take care of some of the production costs. So thank you for that. I'd like to invite you to connect with us on other days besides Tuesday. And you can do that at broadcastteamalpha.com. You can connect with us on Sundays when we gather for the Mastermind Connection, where we come together, we put our thought energy together for benevolent purposes, and we set our intentions out into the quantum realm where they take shape. So to reach us for that, you can send an email to THE Mastermind Connection, all one word, at gmail.com. And I hope to see you guys soon. So Augie, tell us about our amazing guest.
Yeah, this is going to be good. This is going to be fun. I insist on having fun on these shows, and definitely going to be fun because we are going to step so far out of the box, you will have no clue where the box is by the time the hour is over. And well, you're going to find yourself on the edge of a chair here because I have a comment on my own, and I have not talked to the guest about this. She doesn't know what my comment would be. But you see, the question is, why do you think the Sumerian kings list show 8 kings ruled Earth for 385,200 years? 8 kings. It says, after the kingship descended from the heavens, the kingship was in Eridu, and that is what's Eastern Africa, the first city on Earth. In Eridu, Alulim became king. He ruled for 28,800 years. Alagar ruled for 36,000 years. Now the written records show 6 more kings ruled for 320,400 years. Now, it is not only in the Sumerian tablets where they speak of this. It is also in the Mesopotamian kings list and the Torah. So this becomes something to ponder because it appears it's real. And how could that happen, that people could live that long? Well, the question is again, what were in their mind? And that really goes back first that they knew they were immortal. And the second thing is that they ate something. The Egyptians call it, what is it? And that is that white powder that we call now Ormus or Orme. And back then it was, what is it? It's what the Egyptians called it. Tonight we're going to hear more about this substance because we have Chris Emmons with us. And she has been researching this for almost 2 decades. She has also been making Orme, and she's making it and she's teaching people how to do it themselves. And she has been using it for herself, her pets, her plants, with great results that I think we're going to talk about. She has also got a book out. It's called Ormus, Modern Day Alchemy. And yes, she is a modern day alchemist. And listen close, because you're going to learn how to do some of these things. And also, you will find her on her website. It's called emmonsessentialessence.com. So welcome to the show, Chris.
Thank you. And I'm so happy everybody is here, either live or when they listen later.
Yeah, there you go.
Welcome, welcome. Really good.
Oh.
Yes, we've got some Ormus. Now, when I say any noun word like bicycle, you know what it is in your mind. Ormus is one of those nouns that brings no picture. So I would like to tell you all, because I want you to have understanding, and then I want you to, there's a whole package of this understanding that you need this, and ways to learn more about it, and ways to get it, ways to make it. And the Ormus are minerals. Some synonyms would be outstanding mineral nutrients, pico minerals, because they're in a really small form that has a charge on it. And because it's called an ion, and hence your body can bring these minerals in easily. Other synonym, original restoration minerals, and that's because you have a restoration in all aspects of your being, your mental being, your physical being, your emotional being, and your spiritual being. And another good synonym for this Ormus is open source restoration minerals, because you don't have to buy it. You can make it yourself at home. And so in the end, what is Ormus? The overbranching umbrella, okay, because we'll get into the tines of the umbrella. They're marvelous minerals.
Excellent. Excellent. And we really need minerals, especially, now when many of us are focused on keeping our health good and keeping our immune system bolstered, right?
Nori, this goes back, documented to 1936. There was a senator from Florida. His name was Fletcher. And he went to the U.S. Senate with a doctor. And this doctor presented to the Senate the fact that our foods, our soil, was bereft of minerals. Yes. And I have it pulled up. I'm just going to read the doctor's first statement. Our physical well-being is more directly dependent upon minerals we take into our systems than upon calories or vitamins, or upon precise proportions of starch, protein, or carbohydrates that we eat. Do you know that most of us today are suffering from certain dangerous diet deficiencies? We would call that subclinical. It's a subclinical deficiency. It's not so much that you're seeing today the overtness of a disease, but you're heading towards it, which cannot be remedied until depleted soils from which our food comes are brought into proper mineral balance. That's in 1936.
Wow.
Now, the Senate made no forward action because we're talking political. When you start looking at food stuff to that degree and put it on record, there's going to be a big pushback. Mm-hmm. So there was no forward action. And Senator Fletcher did us all a good service in that he asked that at least the doctor's document be filed as a permanent record. And that is called Senate Document 264. So I really would like everybody to realize that we have been born, from the time we were born, not having the optimal amount of minerals. And you probably know, if not, you will know now, that minerals are categorized into two categories. They call them major, like your calcium and your magnesium and your potassium and your sodium and your phosphate. And then they have the minor. Those are your trace minerals. And the trace minerals are the ones, well, it's not in our foods, the majors and the trace the way they should be. We've got the soil, we have the methods of packaging, harvesting too soon, blah, blah, blah. But the trace is called that because you need them. They're all major minerals, but you just need them in a small amount. So hence trace. So you need to be supplementing with trace minerals. Yeah. But if you buy a tablet, you've just got a compressed rock, okay? A ground up compressed rock. And your body has got to break it apart. And documents showing that breakage apart would be about 15% lucky. And so when you take the Ormus, this has already been broken apart for you. It's a soft precipitate. You take a small amount. It's just the element with a charge. So your body can quickly bring it in. And that's why this is the form that you want, not a tablet, not a capsule. And I'm here to excite you about the fact that you need the trace minerals and you can have them and you don't have to buy them. You can make them yourself.
Wow. That's fascinating.
Let's take this even further back, let's say into the late 70s, 1980s, when David Hudson was doing his experiments with, taking soil actually, and dirt, just plain dirt, and extracting these trace minerals and also gold out of that, burning it and creating this white substance out of it. It didn't have to be gold, that could be other metals, silver and so on. But you have carried on that tradition that he researched into something that is totally different than what we think of as minerals. How can this be brought forward?
Okay, remember that David Hudson did his work over in Arizona, a very wealthy family, multi-generational agriculturists, but the soil over there was very, very bad. There wasn't a lot of loam. It was terrible. So what they do with the soil is they spread acid on the soil, and that the very strong acid digests and bubbles up the soil. And that's where he saw the anomalous material coming up, because it was being digested from the rocks in the soil, and he had it tested. The thing to remember about David Hudson is when he first started his curiosity, he was interested in gold and silver because that's money. Okay, if he can be showing he can get gold and silver, that's a very good thing. And then when he saw some anomalous behaviors of these materials that he was having assayed, he came up with the word Ormy as the different state of the element that was presenting itself when you stressed that state so that it couldn't stay in that high frequency state. And so it would fall down to a lower frequency, which would be our third dimensional element frequency, like on the periodic table here, you know. And so we thank him for his work. Now, fast forward years and years, we have found other elements that also form this high frequency state. And the belief is that every element on the periodic table forms this high frequency state. So when you take the Ormus, you're getting two parts to it. You've got the physical element that your body needs, and you have the high frequency state of that element. Now, high frequency, we're talking about a frequency that is not observable in our dimension. Okay? We're talking about a frequency that either is coming from another dimension into our dimension, or is another state of matter within our plane of existence. You know, we've got the solid, we have the liquid, we have the gas, but perhaps there's another state in our own existence. Or we're talking about a frequency that's coming through to our etheric plane on the earth from the aether, which means that as the energy of the ether is coming into our plane, our etheric plane, and creating this frequency, which as time goes on, transmute to the three-dimensional element that we would see on the periodic table. So when you're taking the Ormus form of the material, you're taking it because it's so easily absorbed. So you're getting the maximum amount of this high frequency state of the element. Now, a cool thing is that when you look at our world, a bigger container means that there's more stuff in it. There's more stuff in here than here. But when you go into the high frequency world, which we would call the quantum world, and it's so easy to talk about this now because we have quantum physics. So it would be very easy for you to grasp everything that we're talking about versus, gosh, 5 years ago, people would think you're crazy. But now they understand. And so there's more energy in a unit that's in the quantum state. A small package equals a big amount of energy. So when you're taking the Ormus, that high frequency state is adding to the energy within your whole four aspects of being a human being. Remember, that was physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And therefore, you respond differently to life, each of those aspects. And it's just a wonderful thing to realize that, one, you need to supplement with trace elements. And two, you can easily get the best way for bioavailability through Ormus. And you can either purchase ready-to-use Ormus, or, and that's what I'm all about, I want you to know to collect it yourself because it'll benefit you. It'll benefit everybody who interacts with you because you'll be able to handle stress better because that's your physical part aspect. And therefore, you're going to create fewer messes through your reactions or how you perceive things or how you work through challenges or your physicality in terms of being healthy. And then after you are excited because it's like, yeah, I get it. And oh boy, where do I go from here? I'm not going to say this again. So like, take a note. You can go to Ormus Academy. It's Googleable or it's on the website emmonsessentialessence.com. You can read the 25 learning units. I don't mean read. You study them. You're not scanning. And even make a Word document where you see things that are especially hitting for you, copy paste them and get them in your own document. Then you go and get some Ormus, and that's just to bridge you over in the way I'm looking at things. And then you collect it for yourself. To help you do that, I've got a do-it-yourself kit with definitely one of the top 3 Ormus source materials. It's the Great Salt Lake concentrated 16 to 1 times purified. And then you're off you go. The alternative that you can add to this, see, everything I've said, it doesn't cost that much. And this doesn't cost that much either. And this is the book, Ormus Modern Day Alchemy. And it's going to tell you about Ormus like the Academy does, but not as in depth. But yes, and the reason it's not as in depth is the goal of this book was to document and detail 13 ways to collect it for the future so that these methods don't get degraded, and for the present. And therefore, you have it all at your fingertips. And if you want to join a community going forward, Facebook, Ormus, a page for beginners, I am available to you. And you contact me, and I will be there. I can't carry you across the bridge. I can assist. And then you have to do your due diligence. And it's so exciting because once you take the minerals, once you take the minerals, and why? Nora, do you want to know why you want the minerals?
Oops, you're muted.
I'm muted. When did I get muted?
No, Nora was muted.
I was muted.
There you go.
Yes, I absolutely want to know. Mhm.
This is so cool to know. And these trace minerals, your body runs on hormones, and the hormones come from the glands, and the glands need the trace minerals to make the hormones. Okay. Now I want to imprint on you, and therefore I don't want to miss a thing. You have 9 major glands. That's what you're taught about. The thyroid, the hypothalamus, the parathyroid. Are we good?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The pancreas. We all know that's the 9 major. You actually have 51 other glands for a total, it comes to a total of 61 glands in the body. Now listen to each of these things that these glands, hormones are doing for your body. And now, while I'm telling you, this is key, okay? While I tell you, you imagine how your body runs in these areas without them. Hormones, they regulate the body metabolism, your heat, your consciousness. Are you tired or are you awake? Are you able to fight off infections or are you sluggish? Reproduction. You know, you might really like somebody and want to go to bed, but it's the hormones because they strike the light.
That's right.
Your growth and the maintenance of the body, your salt water ratio in the body, your response to stress. You have to be vibrant to respond to stress. And if you're not, then you are agitated. You're not like yourself because you're over the top. Your nervous and your muscular system, the movement of not just these, but all these inside, your GI tract, your heart, your sleep. getting a good night's sleep versus not, that's hormone. We know melatonin, that's hormonally related. Your emotional behavior, because again, stress, if you can't handle stress, it presents as angers, resentments, your body temperature, your blood pressure, your heart's function, your heart rate, your GI tract from here all the way to down there, your digestive enzymes. When you're having your period as a woman, or birthing a baby, your uterine contractions, the lubrication of your eyes, the tears that come out of your eyes, the sweat that's formed on your body in order to regulate your temperature, your saliva. These are all responding to hormones from the glands, the production of breasts in the teenager, and milk in women, and on your oil, the sebum that protects your skin, which is the first barrier of defense against infections.
Yeah.
You need the trace minerals, and you get it. You haven't been getting enough, starting from the soil to the way things are picked too soon, to packaging, what they do before they package them, and perhaps known to you, GMO foods. One of their characteristics is the plant is not able to pick up much minerals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you need minerals. Ormus is the best form. And I have given you motivation to go read, learn, get, and do, and share.
Absolutely.
Yeah, when you start taking this, there is not a question if you're going to see results, it's when. It could take anything from a few days to maybe a week or two, but you will see some things, because the reason I'm saying that is because I have been taking it and I did get some results, and some phenomenal results. And I know some of the things that we can notice almost right away is increased focus. And focus you need to get your job done. So that is an absolute must. And then we have creativity. Anybody that's working with a computer or something complicated, you get focus and you get creativity to create new sections and how to make things work together. And another thing that I noticed is you get more energy, and also great in visualization. If you have been meditating and trying to visualize the color, let's say red, and you're having a hard time with it, after that I started with this, it was much easier to visualize things and for the mind to absorb what I saw so I could remember it. And that involved better memory. And also another thing, I didn't take it long enough to see any reasons for this for myself, but I hear from other people that is taking it that it affects the aging. It can stop or reverse the aging process. That is what other people are saying. As well as you're able to tap into the universal mind easier, so you can start manifesting things for yourself. And those are the initial ones, but from there on, there is no saying where your mind will go, because you advance up the spiritual ladder, so to speak. And there is some stories there that I would love to talk, but I want to hear from you first. What are some of your experiences? You've been taking it, so both you and your pets and your plants and stuff, what are some of the things that you have noticed?
I have a horse, and if you know horses, about horse characteristics, of course, they have a consciousness, but they're rather bland, okay, in their eye set. And so my horse has the trait of running away when you go to get him. It's a game. Okay. And I understand he has to let me know that he has importance. Okay. He's not subservient. So after we play this little game where I walk towards him, he walks away. I walk towards him, he walks away. Then at some point, he'll turn his butt and put his face towards me. And that tells me I'm done playing. So that's his trait since I've had him since '05. So I had him at a boarding stall and they would not give him Ormus. They said, we don't want to deal with it. We want to give the granules that people want to give their horses. We'll be happy to throw that in with the grain, but we're not doing this. So when I would go out there, I would bring the Ormus, put it in a oral syringe, and I would give it to him. I got a picture. He completely wouldn't move his mouth. He's 1,100 pounds. Put the syringe in. He's totally happy to get it. Well, what happened the next time that I came? The next time that I visited and he's out in the pasture with his pasture mates, he cantered to the gate.
Wow. He wanted more. Oh, wait. Oh, the minerals were impacting him also. Wow.
And so the bird, I had a Dubin-bowed Lorry. They're about this long, amazing birds. They eat nectar. They got a long tongue. And she loved her Ormus. I'd have the oral syringe. I got pictures. I got videos of that.
Aww.
When she would get her Ormus, she would become so interactive with me and playful with me, and her eyes, just like the horse, the eyes got brighter. The consciousness was waking to a higher degree.
Beautiful.
And I had so much fun.
Aww.
And then when I took the Ormus, being a pharmacist, every job's difficult. Okay, so I'm not saying your job's not difficult.
Are you still a pharmacist, Chris?
I'm still registered. I'm a registered pharmacist, but I have backed off of working. I'm 68 years old, and
you look great.
In a couple of years, I'll be backing off of this overt Ormus outreach because the young ones have to either do something with the Ormus outreach or let it diminish. And that's why I'm saying you have to share. You have to do your due diligence. Somebody took the time to share for you.
Yeah.
So what happened to me is, I was talking about stress. When I'm at work and I'm like the person on top of the hill that everybody's shooting at, okay? Insurance claims won't go through. People aren't happy that they have to pay because the insurance won't pay or the copay wasn't right. Trying to get the insurance to go through, trying to contact the doctors and actually get through, answering people's multitude of questions over the counter about what they need to buy, and in such a way that they get it real quick so they'll go away because I got compression of everything and checking. And then when a narcotic order comes through, then you've got to go open the safe, take it out, count it, document it. You can imagine government paperwork. Close the thing. And so I was living without knowing this. Okay, I'm telling you now, I know now. I was living in fear of every next moment when the next hit was going to be. And the fallout from an unhappy customer or maybe a coworker, because I'm like a machine, and, because I'm just waiting and just doing as much as I can with these hands every minute of every 12 hours period. Uh-huh. And after I took the Ormus, I got it in my head that it is what it is. Mm-hmm. And I found myself living in the moment. I was not living in the fear of the next moment, potential next moments.
Wow.
By living in the moment, my way of being changed. Not that I noticed. And then when you take Ormus, you're too close to your body. You're not going to notice these things, any things, unless you're somebody who is close to your body.
Right.
Okay. And most people aren't. They're so busy living in this modern life, being stretched like taffy everywhere. Who can gain a connection with the body?
Yeah.
Unless you actively are aware of this and work towards it with your meditations or your quiet times, reflection. And a year later, I was awarded, and I attribute this to Ormus, I was awarded the best pharmacist of the district.
Wow, Chris.
And that's from a change of way of being.
Yeah.
And that's from living in the present moment.
Yeah.
And that's from changes that happened in me mentally, emotionally, which affected me physically and my presentation, my physical presentation.
Amazing.
Yeah. Now, I'm wondering too, what would happen, do you think, if somebody started to take it in the large doses?
Human beings just don't. If this is how much, then more is better. These are trace elements. You don't need a lot. And they are revitalizing you. Hence, when we talked about the synonyms for Ormus, we said it. They're restoration minerals. So if you over-restorate yourself, your system, for example, vitamin B complex, people will say, if I take too much vitamin B complex, you have to tear me off of the wall, okay? Because I'm like, go, go, go. If you take too much Ormus, you're over-vitalized. And you're going to have repercussions from being over-vitalized. So please don't do that.
Yeah.
I have personally, and it's on the Facebook pages, that an individual took 3 ounces of Ormus every day, and he was experiencing some challenges. He was having ringing in the ears. Now, it could be you see, the ears are so close to the blood vessels, the big blood vessels are going to the brain. It's possible that the over-vitalization in his body was sending too much blood, and he was actually getting a feedback from the sound of it as it was so close to the inner ear. So he was worried.
Mm-hmm.
And after the expansion of time, as this was dealt with, and of course, the advice was stop. And in a little while, restart, and it did resolve. So you don't want to over-vitalize yourself. I guess it would be like having a Vega car and putting a Corvette engine in it. You were built, your DNA built you. This is your vehicle. Mm-hmm. And don't over-vitalize it. Now, as far as how much, you have to know this. You absolutely have to know this because it's key. So far, you know that we are not getting enough trace minerals, and you're probably not getting enough major minerals either, but our focus is what Ormus can help you with. The National Research Council created a subcommittee who was tasked with determining recommended daily allowances of minerals. Okay? Well, whatever the government puts out, we trust. Although I would say lately, we probably are learning, collectively, we're probably learning to question more. But anyway, They found after their study that the numbers that they put on the document were value judgments based on assumptions, what they considered reasonable assumptions, not scientific determinations. They assumed that we're dealing with healthy people. Now we know there's a whole category of types of people. There's old, middle-aged, young. There's healthy, kind of sick, a little sick, a lot sick. They're assuming that they're dealing with a healthy person, completely healthy, that there are some mineral stores in the body, and that they're assuming what the size of these stores of mineral in the body might be. And their challenges were you're dealing with different people's state of health, different people's diets, different people's DNA with their propensities, different people's level of health. And therefore, there is no such thing as a recommended daily allowance. And people need to incorporate that. And the challenge they had was there was so many variances. And also, there's no analytical methods, no lab analyses that can diagnose many minerals' status in the body. So they had no empirical data to work with to begin with.
Mhm.
So please,
Yeah,
open your mind.
Mhm. I agree with that, and I am not so sure what the large doses would mean, because about 3 years ago, we used to have meetings here at the house, and we were, for several weeks in a row, we were talking about educational meetings where we went together and watched videos and learned and grew and stuff. But we brewed a jar of Ormus with used Himalayan salt and several other substances that was put in there. And one of our friends that came, he had broken his neck, and they put him together with steel rods, and he was able to kind of function, but his fingers never worked right, and he had pains in the nervous system all the time. And he we were trying to be a little careful, so we didn't take all that much. We all tried it, but he went hog wild on it, and he just took a lot of it. And his fingers came back. He could work with them perfectly, and the pain in his nervous system went away. And personally, I thought maybe that may have been in the large doses, but for him, he felt fine with it. Besides, he mentioned something about intuition and a few other things. And I think that is some of the effects that you can have from it, besides what David Hudson talked about. Of course, he made it in a totally different way. He took bar of gold, put it in an arc oven, and turned the temperature up to 5,300 degrees for 2 minutes and cooled it off, and lost half of its weight just about, because some of it was interdimensional. When you scooped that up and took it, it had a totally profound different effect. But I want your comment on this, because the dosage of what would signify being the large doses also may be different for different people.
Everybody, you have to understand that nobody is going to answer that question.
Yeah.
Because then there's liability. What you and I and everybody else fall under is the legality of researching on yourself.
Yeah.
But if somebody else guides you with parameters, then they've stepped into an unauthorized or unlicensed role. And that's why, even if you have a friend and you want to say, oh, you got to try this, you have them have the spoon and have it. Because if you don't, if you do this, you're actually dispensing.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And so, to your question, I can share to everybody, okay, that you must determine your own value. And with those, I can share what others say that they take, because that's all I'm doing is sharing what others have written that they've taken. They've taken everything from drops of it to 1 ounce of it once a day. This is the majority of people who chat. nobody really talks about more than an ounce. And most people say they take half an ounce or, a teaspoon, which is half an ounce, or a tablespoon. And so that's your range. And that would be if you're an adult. So if you have a child from puberty on, and if you have a child from puberty to where they're under puberty, but they're not a child, I think that might be 7, age 8, maybe. Give half of that amount that you've determined would be for an adult, in your opinion, to them. And if you have a child that's lower than that, this is a very energetic material. And those little bodies, they are growing and growing and growing so fast to begin with that if you give them too much high energy material, they could grow. We have the fourth dimension, we have time, and things have to grow within their time frame. And if you shorten it, something not is going to be good. So to finish that train of thought, so for those that are children, below infants and children, you wouldn't give this. You would do another form. It's suggested would be to make a live oil. And a live oil carries that high frequency energy within the oil. And you make the oil very easily by choosing a natural sea salt. And if this were oil, let me pretend this is oil, okay, an oil of your choice. Depending, I like sesame seed oil for my skin. And sesame seed oil, you can also use it after things have cooked, like your vegetables, and sprinkle it on your meat. Anyway, you take a bottle and you fill it halfway with your natural salt. Some will fill it a third. And then the rest with the oil. You leave no air at the top because it oxidizes. And you shake. And that high frequency energy goes into the oil. Mm-hmm. And now you can apply the oil to the young child or the infant. Some good places to apply it are the soles of the feet and the abdomen. Mm-hmm. And now you're providing some of the high frequency energy, but not in the super potent form. And the importance of what I'm saying is because if you were using this in agriculture and you have seeds and you want to have some nice germination, you would take the precipitate from your Ormus, because there's precipitate and then there's top water, and you would dilute it 500 to 1. So if it was 1 drop of precipitate, it would be 500 milliliters of water. There's 240 milliliters in 8 ounces. And then you would soak your seeds overnight in it. And they burst. Excuse me. And then as they're growing, you would feed them this at the rate of a half a tablespoon, or 1 tablespoon per gallon. If you overfeed the seedlings that are this big, they're growing. They're growing so fast that they'll actually deadhead on you and fall over because they grew so fast that the stalk couldn't develop enough rigidity. You pushed it. And that's the same thing with our understanding. But it's nothing to be afraid of. It's about learning and then moving forward with the knowledge.
I totally support what you're talking about here, because you are explaining or telling us to do this the safe way. And being safe, there's something to say for that. Start in the small and then expand very, very shortly. I mean, in small steps. to the point where you feel is right for you. And I don't know how far that can go. They could be very for different people, or we could get to the point where we're doing experiments like David Hudson did, when he developed total telepathy and things like that.
I'm happy with how much I take. And, but if I was curious to explore, as some of you might be curious to explore, I would pendulum. I would pendulum the question and follow that. And a lot of people, they don't take it every day. Okay. After you've been on it a while, most people will take Ormus and they'll skip days too. You don't have to take it every day.
Yeah.
What was the name of your book again?
This is Ormus Modern Day Alchemy.
Yeah, Greg, that's where, and you can figure out how to make it yourself from that book, right?
Yes, you can.
Perfect.
There are 13 methods explained. And what I really want, if the folks really got it, like we're at a break point for that. The folks really got that they need trace elements. Ormus is the way to go. It carries the high frequency state of the element, which, by the way, we call it M state, or which stands for metaphysical state or meta state. But if you want to understand what it is, it's high frequency. And where it comes from, nobody knows, but it definitely exists. It exists. I was making gold, Ormus, and in the process of making gold Ormus, I needed heat. So I had this close by the container that I was doing the work in. And when I was done, the gold that was in the container came and fused into this piece of tile, which is a cheap 69-cent at the time I bought it tile. And this would be gold in the 3D form, in the periodic table form, AU.
Mm-hmm.
And my process had released its state by stressing it. I stressed the 3D form of the gold. And it went into the localized area, and it had an affinity for what this is made from. And so it's embedded underneath the glaze. You can't get it off.
Wow.
So this, I want you to know, I want you to get it, that this high spin state exists. And then as it sheds its energy, it becomes a condensate, which is what this is. It's a condensate. Mm-hmm. And Peter Higg won a Nobel Prize for showing high frequency material that you can't see. When it's this high frequency, there's no analysis that can show you that it exists. But as it sheds energy, it becomes a particle, a condensate particle. And he's the one that showed the particle that forms from the condensate of the high frequency energy as it loses its, sheds its energy. And that's called the Higgs boson. So people who hear about Ormus and they hear about Higgs boson, but they don't know the backstory. It's just the condensate of the M state that exists everywhere. And so people get a lot of
that substance that you have there on the tile, that substance traveled through the glass then and got precipitated onto the tile. Is that it?
Yes, the M state form of the gold that was in the flask. The M state came out, and then it lost energy, and it adhered to a surface that it liked.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So there you have, and that's just one example. There's other, but that's like you can see. You don't have to look at charts and graphs.
Yeah.
Well,
Wow.
we have about 4 minutes left. So if you could tell people how to reach you or how to contact you if they have questions.
EmmonsEssentialEssence.com. That's your resource to learn, to move forward, bring it into your life, learn to collect it, and then use it. And along the way, contact me from there.
I put it in the chat. Oh, I put it in the wrong chat. Okay.
Yeah, as I've been listening to you, I've been thinking about this. You know, I did take this for probably 6, 7, maybe 8 months in a period of time back in, I think it was 1997 or so. And I did have some great results with it, and telepathy and insight and with inventions and things. And I'm just kind of wondering, maybe I want to start doing this again. It's starting to sound like, and I like to experiment. I want to find out what large doses means for me. Because
Well, keep in touch with me, okay? I want to be part of that.
That sounds good. Yeah, I think this is starting to sound like fun again, because of the results I had last time. And I also remember I was in Phoenix. That was about the same year or maybe a year after. I was sitting across the table from David Hudson. We had lunch together, and he told me a story. Now, he made it different. He cooked the gold in an argol, and so he had white powder that people actually ate. And he said that there was a guy that came to him, a semi-homeless man that really didn't have family. He just wanted to experiment with it. And he started taking it in large doses. And he started hearing people's voices in his head. And he became very psychic, and he could work with telekinesis, from what I remember David said. And he just got overwhelmed. So the guy moved out into the desert in a tent. And he stayed out there, but it was peaceful out there. And then David visited him, and he said that during the night, there was a guy that came to him and taught him. And this guy was lit up like a light bulb. He said he was sitting in the tent teaching him. And at one time, the man told David that he was offered to go with him because he didn't need to be here anymore. And the guy did disappear, and he never showed up anywhere afterwards. So that is a story that I can't help it. I have to believe David when he said that, because there are other people that have had, I mean, go to YouTube and you see some of the phenomenal results on those, you know, using this stuff. So I don't know what the large doses would mean for some people, but I know what it meant for that guy. Probably ascension. I don't know. We'll see.
Remember, we're here. We incarnated here to experience the physical reality.
Yeah.
When you take the Ormus, mentally, that mental aspect of you, it fires up the neurons in the brain. And you have a left side and you have a right side of the brain, and they communicate better. So I always like to say that we become more of what we're meant to be. We become more human. But listening to you, it is a possibility that when you take Ormus, most of you is still in 3D being human, but part of you is not human anymore because you're more connected to spirit.
There you go. Yep.
Beautiful. Chris, thank
Wow.
you so much. You have to come back and visit with us again.
Well, yeah, we have so much.
Yes.
So much to talk about. I mean, practical things. And if you're everybody out there likes to hear, I will share.
Absolutely. That would be wonderful.
That would be good.
I hope I've helped everybody.
Everybody in the chat is so grateful.
I like it, or to say they don't like it for themselves, but I hope that I've done something for everybody.
Oh, yes. Yes, you have. All right. Thank you very much for being with us, and we will talk again.
Have a great day or a great night, wherever you are. I love you.
You love you too. And for the rest of you out there watching this now or in the recording, in the meantime, be good to each other.